So on this episode of Project Kev and Piggy Power, we're going to try and organise this area a little bit here, which is out of focus. So we need to have a radiator, obviously. We need a fan on the back of the radiator. We need a bracket just finishing to hold our clutch line. We need a point for a positive, and jumper point would be quite cool. And try and organise that. I do have it ready. We need to mount the ECU on the top here somehow. Organise this plug to go through the bulkhead, and then the plug from here also to go through the bulkhead, and get a power line through. Those three things. We've ordered 3 glands because plugs for this many pins are very, very expensive. We are talking like £50 each, and I need 2 of them. So we're going to use a couple of glands and tuck them up under there a little bit so they should be protected and keep the weather out and all that. We've got the little hole down, you can probably just see it underneath the wiper motor, and that's going to have wiring come through on a plug for the wiper motor, the washer, the horn and the cap. To say low fluid, basically. Got a new cap on order. This is broken and, well, just frankly broken. So there's another one on order, and instead of pins coming out opposite sides, comes out the same side, so that should be a nice thing. And a rebuild kit, just new seals for this, basically. It's been sat for years. So we need to organise things. We still have a coolant bottle on the way, hoping to mount that, allow that here. And then hopefully we can get some pipe work coming in, because the intake's got to come up, round, down, and then we're going to put an air filter down there. So we need to do a bunch of these things to work out what size air filter we can fit in there. We'll have a splash shield for it, obviously. We've got a nice cold air feed coming into there, and we'll have it back here, keep it away from the engine heat, and hopefully that will do the job. So we're going to measure that up. First thing I'm going to do is we're going to take this cylinder out of the way, reduce down the weight of stuff and stuff getting in the way for now, and we're going to have to cut this flat, put supports in. We need a little bit more clearance here, and again put some supports in, and then a couple of places, 4 or 3 places for the ECU to bolt down on the top here, and that would be an ideal location for it in my mind. Let's do that. I don't need anything to pass through here, so we are going to add some triangulation here, and I'll continue this lip on here. Lip over does improve the strength quite considerably, and we can tie into this piece here. And as I say, I've got to cut a little bit more out of there, and then we'll put some 2mm plate in there with the lip again, triangulate that, make it nice and strong. I don't think it's going anywhere anyway, but we'll make sure of it. Now it's always good to consider when you're using stuff like this is ensuring that it's not going to go anywhere. You're not going to have it rattling around, but at the same time I want to be able to get it out quite quickly, and I need it out of the way of stuff. So sort of 2 action thoughts here is, well, we can bolt it to this and then try and bolt this in, but it covers up multiple bolts, so how do you get bolts back there, and what could you do to make it easy? Because you might not necessarily need to remove the ECU much, but you might need to get the brakes stuff, like pins that are trying to pop out, for instance, or just generally get to areas, or take it apart. So what I've come up with is just a simple sleeve like that, which will weld in somewhere like that, and then the ECU, the one side, will slide into that sleeve like that, which will exist up there, and then we'll have a plate here with 2 bolt holes, and we'll riv nut or weld in a couple of nuts to hold them in place, and then that will hold the ECU spot on in place. And what we'll do is we'll put a little bit of neoprene, probably just inside there and on there, and on the back of this plate, just to help reduce vibrations and noise, etc. on this, and any static build-up. So that's what we'll do. We'll just position this now, drill a couple of holes in it, and tack weld that in place. We have to keep in mind this bolt here behind, so I'm going to keep that in mind, obviously. As long as I can get to it with a spanner though, I'm happy with that. So there's our plate that's going to go in, but as you can see it sort of lacks a little bit of support on that side, so I put a piece of 2mm plate and weld that in there. Let's do that now. Okay, I think that might be its finished position. I'm worried now that the bonnet's not going to clear. Just grind that off. Totes fine. We can drop it down slightly. We've got about 3 or 4 mil we could actually take off here. But that's basically its final position. It's pretty secure. You can add a little bit of neoprene, as I say, on these on that back piece, just to hold it in a bit steadier. So we'll just unbolt that now and tidy up the bracket. I had to use a couple of pieces of 2mm. I'm running out of 2mm still. And brace at the back and brace on the side, and then use some fancier bolts. I've got some nice stainless bolts somewhere that we'll probably make use of, if I remember. So, just 2 bolts, and she comes out like that. So as you can see, need to sort of just make that look a bit neater, and then we're going to triangulate across there. So we'll do that now. Okay, so we cut a little bit more out just for clearance for the wiper motor, and it does leave us a little bit of a weakness. So we've made up a plate that has a curve to match that back piece to enable us to get the motor in there, and then we bit a few slots that we can bend it to shape both sides. So let's weld that in, clean that up, and that'll give us a good bit of strength on this side. So out of the loom that's coming from that hole there, I want to fit the horn. Now people put it in all sorts of places, but I am limited to space, as we know, and this kind of area is taken up. So I'm going to stick it just the other side here somewhere. So I'll come up with just a little bit of a bracket, some 2mm steel, slot onto that. You can get a spanner behind it just to put it on. So we're just going to weld that little tab onto there, and then we can use this hole here. We'll put a grommet to get the wire in through and connect it to there. 2 spade terminals, 1 for earth and 1 for some power, and so let's weld the tab on. This is a custom bracket. Does that make me a custom fabricator? Not sure. It makes me a fabricator of sorts. Horn, slots on there, like that. You get the spanner that I had in my hand 2 minutes ago, do that up. There's a horn, you wire it up. It's not a turbo, but it'll sound like a squiddy turbo. Right. I'm just making a piece to go along there. Bit of cardboard aided design. Be a bit thinner than that, but it'll basically make a sort of square it off. It'll be like that, but it'll square off a little bit, and then we can be supporting this, and it strengthens up this whole area down into here, and this is going to come down here and flap over, and then that means when wiring comes over here, that won't be rubbing on that. Winning! Alright, so there's our reinforcement plate tacked in place. We just need to weld that along now, and then cut that down, fold that over, and weld this corner in, and sort of make this all a nice strong place. Winning. Not the nicest of welds, but I'm quite pleased with it. It's the thinnest metal I think I've welded with this welder so far, and it has added a lot of rigidity to that edge now and to that bracket, so that's really good. I might try and close that up just for aesthetics. So now what I want to do is sort of cut almost along that line, maybe a bit above it, and then create a fold over the top, and then it'll all merge on this corner and look nice and tidy. That's the idea. So let me just chop, bash and weld, and I'll get back to you. Alright, some progress for the afternoon. Horn and bracket is there. Wiper motor is bolted in. 2 stainless bolts coming through from the other side welded in. Should stop anything leaking down and be nice and easy to fix and fix in there. We showed you the extra bracing on this and the bracket on this. That's how the ECU will go. One plug will go that way through a gland, which are going to be tucked up under the scuttle panel there. Other things which I haven't done for this corner yet is I want to tidy up this corner, and this gutter needs to continue somehow, and we're going to get rid of these, so I'll be plating that up. I'll also be plating the odd 2 holes up rather than putting chromy blank things in, just weld in a blank either side there. Next we need to fix the washer bottle, and I'm tempted just to try and put it here. The coolant, we also need a coolant bottle, but we might as well put it as close as possible to the radiator. Seems pointless to put the washer there and the coolant bottle there and have pipes like crossing over. So we'll have it on a bracket that will bolt to this, or weld to this probably. I think I'll just weld a bracket to this. You can buy the little brackets I probably threw it away. It was in a bucket somewhere, but they're not very difficult to make. So out of some 1mm steel, we'll just make the bracket that's going to hold that now, and then weld it to there. So that'll fit there, and then we know where the wiring's going. Okay, coolant bottle, bracket that we've just welded, made it out of 2 pieces because I didn't have enough big enough 2mm steel and just the way it's going to fit. So the extra bracket, the way it's welded on, will support the slide bracket, slips on. A couple little dimples in there for our dimples in there that push against the steel and sort of hold it in. 3 holes to weld to our main support there. To get the engine out, you have to remove this anyway, so may as well have it as part of this. You'd have to pull this out to get to the bolts there, so there's no big deal here, and this bracket won't be in the way of dealing with those bolts once it's done, so that'll be a good result. So we're just going to let this cool down. We'll clean this area up ready for welding, get the welder in place and weld that on. So we'll go like that, very nice. This will weld on there. So we will clean this up, we will weld it, and so it'll be good. Handheld. We want it there. Shall we put it there? Hammer. Bash. Beautiful. We fit. Pretty good, pretty good. I'm relatively happy with our afternoon and evening's work today. We've got wiper motor where it should be with clearances just about. A little bit more clearance will be added just because it's going to move. We don't want it to knock. But it's basically in its position it will be with its stainless bolts and nuts. Our wiring is now ready to be laid out because we have a horn in our position that we want, and the wiring will go through a little grommet there. We have added our support piece here, which gives this loads more support and gives this a lot more strength. Folded it over for the same reason as a finishing touch. Added our bracket here. That means our washer bottle's in place, ready to be wired in. And of course our ECU bracket popped on top, a little slip at the back, a couple of bolts at the front. And the next stage is to get our radiator coolant bottle, and we're going to make a positive terminal at the front here that joins battery power, engine power and power coming in from and for the dash, so that might go about there, and then a coolant bottle about there, allowing a pipework to come through down here for inlet. I have no idea how I'm going to get the inlet down there yet. I really don't, but we will come to that when we need to. Right, that's it for this episode, I think. Next one, more wiring, coolant system. We'll focus on the coolant system and the wiring for this on the next episode if we don't cover it on this episode. Thanks for watching. Thumbs up. Thanks guys for watching. Really do appreciate support and comments. Just comment, say hi, where you're from. That'd be nice. Bye.